Hey, Prono audience. Young professionals love to travel, right? While the reality is that we can't travel like we used to right now, there will be a time when we can get back to it. In the meantime, we still have to work, right? Luckily for us, Flashpacker has travel products that serve as great day to day work products as well, handily enough. From their Citizen tote bag that I actually have, that serves as a great work bag for those of you who are on the go even during a pandemic or just want to take it out to lunch with friends, to their leather travel kit that works for any work or pleasure related travel. There's definitely something for everyone here on their site, which is why we are excited to offer you a 20% discount code when you use YoProKnow20 at your purchase. Check out the link in our bio for more details and happy shopping. Hey there, everyone. It's Camber here with the Yo Pro Know. I am here today with Samyr Qureshi, 27-year-old co-founder and CEO at Knack, which we're going to hear all about today. We were connected by a previous interviewee, Alicia, who you all heard from a couple of months back. But today, we just want to welcome you, Samyr. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So get started just by giving us a brief background on yourself. So try to keep it as concise as possible, and then we'll dive more into those details.
Sure. Co-founder and CEO of a company called Knack. We are an education technology platform that partners with educational institutions to power and scale peer-to-peer tutoring programs. I'm based in Tampa, Florida, grew up in the Florida area, went to the University of Florida, and had a short stint in corporate, decided to leave that and dive into the world of entrepreneurship, moved back to Gainesville, which is where the University of Florida is based, and decided to take some time and work on Knack, which is now 5 years old, partnered with dozens of campuses across the country to really take their high-achieving students and enable them at scale to be a qualified and motivated network of peer tutors. It's a sort of resource that's paid for by the institution for students, so it's free if you need support most times. And then if you're a high achieving student that's identified by your university, we recruit you to be a tutor on the platform to earn a flexible income as a sort of sharing economy worker.
Wow. Well, congratulations. 5 years. That's a long time in startup life for sure. So congratulations to you for that. Going back a little bit, are you surprised that this is the path that you've taken in your career, looking back to when you were in high school and in your college years? Obviously you started off your professional career in corporate. So are you surprised?
I think so. When I was younger, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And coming from a South Asian background, figuring out what you want to do is kind of key at a young age. And I'm actually a first-gen immigrant. So I was born in the Middle East and moved to the States when I was really young. And so sort of here to chase the proverbial American dream. And I don't think I knew I wanted to start something necessarily. I was a pre-law student. So I was a criminology, sociology major at UF, and graduated early because I got most of college done in high school through a dual enrollment program. And, always kind of said I wanted to be an attorney because I think I could study whatever I wanted and then just take the LSAT and go to law school. So it was sort of it gave me enough flexibility and opportunity to delve into a lot of different things. And so when I was at UF, I had the opportunity to work for Apple. And that's where I first started to kind of understand that technology was something I was really interested in. And even before that, I think when I look back now, the signs were really there to say that I was probably going to be an entrepreneur because I always had just interesting ways of making money and wanting to kind of build something or provide a service or something that people would like. And so in high school, that was, buying and jailbreaking iPhones and reselling them. It was in college, I started a apparel brand and a t-shirt printing sort of shop out of my college apartment, where I was printing a bunch of t-shirts for different student organizations, which funded a lot of my social activities in college. And so I think when I look back, I always had an interest in a draw towards building or creating something. And when I graduated University of Florida, and I went to a company called Gartner. It's the largest market research firm for technology in the world. I had the opportunity to work with technology founders, and that's when I started to really get on the phone with C-levels and better understand really what the future of the world looked like as it related to technology. And that's when I started to hear about the sharing economy more and more. Uber and Airbnb were exploding. And it was something that I thought was really interesting, even just from like a human behavior standpoint. So I signed up as an Uber driver as a social experiment. And just kind of asked people what made them feel comfortable to get in a car with a stranger without scaring them off. And, I think I just realized that this is actually a big shift in consumer behavior, and I don't think it's a fad. And so I was really intrigued with that model. Um, from sort of my personal background, education was always something that was really important to my family, important to me. And I had some setbacks early on. And then, after that, springboarded into getting college, a lot of college done in high school. So I had this interesting perspective around wanting to work on something in education. And so we put together a team and we entered into the business plan competition. And right around the time I was doing really well at Gartner, I hit the top sales bonus. I was performing really well, but I just wasn't really happy in a large organization. So I actually decided to quit my job and move back to the University of Florida to start Knack. I poured my savings into the business, and 5 years later, here we are, still going.
That's great. Thanks for that overview. You say we. So who is your team? What does that comprise of?
Yeah, so there's 15 other people. We've doubled our team in the last year, but it's primarily comprised of engineers, product designers, and then on the business side, some operations, sales, and marketing folks. And yeah, it's a solid mix of. I think the oldest person on our team is maybe 40. So the average age is probably roughly 30. So it's a very young team. And our headquarters are currently in Tampa. So the team is for the most part here. We have an office in downtown. But yeah, we're a pretty young, hungry team, really motivated to solve a big problem in the world of higher ed.
Absolutely. Can you talk about a specific hardship that you've had since you graduated school and how you've grown from that?
Yeah, so I didn't study business at all. And I really had no basis of understanding what it would take to run a company, let alone, I mean, you start it and then it's kind of running it. And then you get to kind of, okay, we've built something, people are using it. We've figured out how to keep these people happy. And now we got to figure out how to scale. And each of those different kind of, inflection points, there's been a lot of learning. I think for most of the team, my co-founders, I think none of them study business really either. So, it was sort of a new experience for most of us. And there were so many times where, we got laughed out of the room at investor meetings, or people kind of said this, we're going to go anywhere. And, I think it's easier to puff your chest up and have confidence if you've got a couple wins under your belt, and maybe you're a bit more tenured in your professional career, but we weren't. And so anytime anyone would say that, it was definitely a blow to the confidence. But I think because we have such a solid and incredible team, we're able to keep going and just moving past that. We've come close to running out of money a few times and shutting the business down. So there's definitely been some hardships. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is, one, to be self-aware that, okay, maybe these people do have a point that, we've got some polishing to do on certain parts of the pitch or the product or what have you. But we definitely have something. And so to fill in those gaps, we built a really strong advisory board comprised of folks in the world of higher ed, comprised of folks in the world of technology, operations, finance, to really ensure that the bases were covered and that we had something to go back to validate that with. And so, I would say kind of surround yourself with people that want to see you win. And if you get enough of those people, I think eventually you will win, either by bringing them onto your team full time or leaning on them for support. There's a reason, football teams have cheerleaders and there's a loud crowd, maybe not these days, but there's a reason for that. And I think you need that encouragement, that morale. and it's really hard to do it alone. So I think you have to really kind of build out a network that, for me, that looked like literally cold pitching people on LinkedIn. I mean, we've received significant investment from just pitching people cold on LinkedIn, showing up to events, cold emailing, to just kind of get in front of the people that you think can really be value add and just lean on them for advice. And if they're willing to do that, take them up on it and truly leverage them as a sounding board to help get you where you need to be.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I know that I can imagine. I mean, I also don't have a strong business background. And so starting a company with that, I know our companies are very different, but starting a company without that knowledge can be a little disheartening sometimes. And so I can only imagine being in front, giving a pitch and having people look at you like how they were probably looking at you. So thanks for sharing that. I know that's something very vulnerable. So thank you. You are obviously, you're young, you're 27. So what have you learned? I guess what key findings would you share as a leader? Like what have you learned as a leader? Maybe what struggles, going back to that hardship question, or what do you like about being a leader? That you can choose which question you want to tackle.
Yeah. So I think the one thing I do like, which I've realized is coming back to be something maybe that's not conducive long-term is, I was diagnosed with ADD at a very young age, and I wasn't a huge fan of kind of relying on medication and things like that. And I really, I remember reading something that said, ADD tends to dissipate when the individual finds something that they're truly interested in, which had me beg the question of maybe people just have ADD because they're not actually involved in things they're interested in. And so when I started with Knack, I think the thing that kept me the most motivated and encouraged was the idea that as much as I didn't have a business background, it was that much more exciting to learn every piece of the business. So, how to fundraise, how to pitch, how to sell, how to get users, how to read a profit and loss. These are all things that you can learn somewhat maybe in a textbook, but they really can't be learned until you actually go out and apply that. And you really, run experiments essentially. And so what I love the most is that the creative part of what we get to do is, okay, we have this goal of achieving, X million in revenue or X thousand users or 100, whatever it is. And then it's really kind of running a bunch of experiments and trying different things and being very meticulous to track what's working and what isn't. And what isn't, you eliminate. What is, you double down on. And so there's this exciting aspect of being able to really kind of have your hands in a lot of different parts of the business, which is fun and it's exciting. I think now that we're a little bit more mature, it can be exhausting with the context switching. So I would say it's sort of a blessing and a curse at times too.
Yeah, that's great. I did notice on your LinkedIn, it looks like you are on Forbes 30 under 30. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Congratulations. So people are obviously recognizing what you're doing.
Hopefully. Yeah, I like to think so.
Well, I'm mindful of our time, and I know this time always goes by very quickly. So Samyr, kind of to wrap things up for us, what is, one takeaway from this interview that you want people to know about Knack?
That we've got a pretty important mission. I think with everything going on in the world right now, and I never, had the idea of Knack, and the team wasn't ever building Knack because we knew it would be COVID proof or recession proof. But I think what we've actually come to realize is that we really, really, really care about education and access to quality support on a peer-to-peer basis can do a lot for the world, to the point where, COVID-19 came about and our business actually took off.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for, and it's, it's to take a step back and realize that I actually think two of the most essential things for society are healthcare, to well-being, mental health, physical health, but education. As humans, like we're always seeking knowledge, and the original university was just about local knowledge transfer, and so we really are enabling that at scale through, peers and through technology. And so I think our mission has started to really re-energize our team, and hopefully is standing out around this is an essential service. And for that, we really are excited to keep on building and growing the business. So I think mission is definitely key. And if we were building, software to, I don't know, to automate construction or something, I don't know. I don't know that I would have stuck around with it. But when it has something as powerful as a tutor, I'm able to pay my rent on your platform. And as a student, I'm able to now walk across the stage, and I never thought I would be able to do that, or I'm the first in my family to do that. And we enabled that. There's something special there. And I think that's what ultimately keeps us going.
Well, I think that is a great way to end the interview. So thank you so much for your time today, Samyr. How can people find you?
Um, Website, joinknack.com, joinknack.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter. So yeah, if you Google my name or Google Knack and my first name, everything should pop up.
Great. Well, we will make sure to also link your platforms and handles to the interview itself. So we'll make sure that we get that across as well. But I think it's really important. Your mission obviously is very important, but I'm happy you brought up that you guys have done, you've really taken off in this time as opposed to gone backwards, which a lot of companies have unfortunately done. So I guess, kudos to y'all for getting that right. Obviously couldn't prepare for that, but I think it's really interesting. And one of the reasons I started YoProKnow in the first place, as I mentioned earlier today, is I love looking at people's backgrounds and paths and seeing how the dots kind of connect over time. And it's really, it's really cool to see that here. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Samyr.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.